we get the knee up high, right? We want to be able to hold it. Now in this position, you can see that my foot is below the knee, all right, as I hold this position. My head is transferred back to where the weight is over the sole of the foot.
You have to pick up your leg. Or, I don't care how you do it, but you have to get to this point. Pitchers do it like this, but no matter, you have to come to the stop. You have to stop. You have to stop. That's about it.
I don't know where to begin, really, because I think ultimately, Pedro, the nuance of pitching deliveries is different for everybody. Look at you. You're skinny, not quite as tall. I'm tall and fat. There's big, there's skinny. You look at deliveries in this World Series. Clayton Kershaw's got an unusual delivery. Chris Sale is different. David Price, everybody. So stuff and delivery, it's not cookie cutter, right? What are some of the keys in deliveries that you look for that made you consistent?
But quickly you realize, and once I say this, everybody will realize that everybody needs good balance.
Okay.
They need to feel comfortable on the rubber and somewhat have a quiet landing where they can feel comfortable to pick up the spot where they want to hit and actually have a good release point and a consistent one.
Okay, so I heard balance.
Yeah.
To me, that's number one for you.
Yes.
Because you make reference to
Quiet landing.
Quiet landing.
Yes, because you want to really hit your target. You don't want to be off in your location.
And what was the last?
And the last one is a consistent release point.
All right, so let's get to this because
Yes.
I want it. Everybody wants to know, right? Pedro Martinez, Hall of Famer.
Yes.
So, what was your keys to a good, consistent balance? What did you do?
Well, the first thing I had to do was make sure that I was on top of the rubber. I always kept my Dodger way, hooking the rubber.
Did it matter where you stood on the rubber? There's some guys way left, right.
It did for me because I had a lot of movement, even on a cross-seam fastball like this.
Okay.
Ball would tail.
Come into the righty.
Yeah, so
you wanted to be on the first base side?
no, I wanted to be in the middle.
Okay.
Because I could command what I would do. My bad tendency would be to open up.
Okay.
So when I open up, I wanted the ball to come back to the strike zone.
Was there any kind of like some sort of
When
rhythm test or
when I got here, I wanted to make sure that once I brought that leg up, I was in balance good enough to actually ride down, separate on time, and ride the slope.
Was there a drill you did?
I did.
So was that it?
I got a lot of balancing in the clubhouse. I would do a lot of balancing, go pick up the ball, do stuff like that.
It's a great drill that you can do on flat ground, and then eventually you want to be able to do it on the balance beam. And this will ensure that your weight is on the ball of your foot and that you're keeping your weight back as you're leading out for the number 2 position. What I want you to do is just start with the jumping jack position, thumbs and index finger together, knee high. Now, I got the weight on the ball of the foot. As I start down to get into the number 2 position, I stop and then bring the foot back up without touching the ground. All right? That takes some practice to get used to the balance. It's up, number 2, back up. All right? You try that a couple of times, then do it on the beam.
All right.
And have this ability.
Did it matter what you led with? Tree, standing tall and fall, or did you drive with your lower half?
It's a combination. The first thing I wanted to do was give you my hips.
Okay.
The line, the stripe of my pants going forward.
As we're leading out, in order to keep your weight back, and this is something that you'll do on the balance beam, and when you get on the mound, it's very important. So as you start to lead down, as the hands separate, it's a feeling of pulling back with the upper body. You lead out with the front hip, not with the shoulder. The hip goes down and out first before the shoulder moves at all. So you are leaning back slightly, keeping the head behind the belly button. All right, your belt buckle, your belly button, your nose is back here. So as you lead out, right, so that when you land in the high cock position, your nose is still in the center of your body. That will allow you to properly open the hips and generate the power with that explosion of the trunk and the hips.
Then you explode when you hit.
I wanted to use the inside of my feet, the inside of my knees, and this trunk area to stay inside, go, and then take off. And so therefore, that allowed all the transformation of my body to bear most of the whip and force and put less on my shoulder so that at throwing 94, 95, 95. So in other words, here's
do you
a
got here?
drill that you don't see anymore, but putting it on a flat so I don't fall flat on my face.
Go ahead.
Is there was a sense that, you know, the 2x4 drill. So we kind of use this drill to stay on plane.
Okay.
Right? That was just one of those drills to keep you online with going to home plate. Because if you stay on plane and use the right muscles,
To stay under control. I like
you
that.
stay under control.
All right, here's an early drill that you can use on a balance beam. Take 2 baseballs. I like to put one in the palm of my hand, and that requires that I put a little bit of tension, a little firmness into the hand and the glove, which will be important. We'll see in a minute. If I don't squeeze the ball, obviously it's just going to drop out. So one ball is kept in the palm, the other one will just hold as if we were pitching. Hands together, feet apart like we're in the stretch position. Weight over the balls of the feet. Now we're just going to shift back, bending the leg, knee high, and then we're going to drift out into the high cock position. Now this is the high cock position, all right? You'll notice that my back foot is just starting to turn. The ankle is rolling over. This is what's known as squishing the bug, all right? We'll get into that a little bit in a minute. So as I land, you'll notice that my nose should be above my belt or slightly behind it. The front foot is pointed at the right-handed batter's box.
And everything, and then ride the slope of the mound and make sure that I landed in a 45 degree with my toes so that I could have the flexibility to bend that knee at the time I release the ball. When you step on the rubber, you want to be, if anything, kind of across a little bit in a 45 degree angle. Once you land, you come from here, you want to keep all this in line. And then you go and you land in a 45 degree. Your cleats are designed to actually break the ground and keep you in line. A little bit, and also square himself up like John says. Square off a little bit in a 45 degree angle.
My front elbow is used as a sight towards home plate. If you were to draw a straight line or follow this beam, straight along the beam, from my back elbow, my back shoulder, my front elbow and shoulder, pointed directly straight towards the plate. Now, some pitchers like to extend the arm out. That's why I think the ball is a good idea in the glove. What you do is you hold the glove palm down, the fingers are going towards the hitter, the thumb is down. In the high cock position with the glove out towards the hitter, you'll notice that my elbow is still even. Now let's turn the beam so it faces the camera. All right? As we come down, okay, you'll notice that my toe is pointed towards the right-handed batter's box. My elbow, front elbow, is used as a sight. There's a straight line right along this beam from my front elbow, my front shoulder, my back elbow, and you can see my fingers on top of the ball, thumb underneath, pointed towards the shortstop. If I was to bring the arm out towards the hitter, all right, palm down, thumb down, holding the ball, still gripping firm enough to hold on to it, you'll notice that my elbow is still used as a sight. All right? Again, that's why it's important, too, that we use the elbow as a sight. Our elbow is the sight between home plate, the front shoulder, the back elbow, and then the hand is on top of the ball facing the shortstop for right-handed pitchers. If you want to get the glove out, put a ball in the glove, practice getting into the high cock position, putting a little bit of tension on that glove to hold the ball in it. But again, the elbow, shoulder, should be perfectly in line with the imaginary line between home plate and second base.
This is how to go. This is where you go to the target. This is your eyeball, all right? Yeah, bullseye. Yeah, bullseye. Right there. And that. Right there. Right there. That's your balance. That's your strong. And then with here, you drive. Now, right. When you do this, automatically, you're gonna fly up. Yeah. You're gonna fly up and it's gonna fly. Yeah. But for you stay close.
All right, now from the front, you can see this is the number 2 position. All right, you can see that my shoulders, my elbows are parallel. I've got the hand on top of the ball. I'm using my elbow as a sight. Now, once again, you can have the glove out this way towards the hitter, or you can curl it in. I prefer to curl it in.
You come from here, you want to keep all this in line. And then you go, boom,
Got it.
elbow, eyes, and everything. And then right there, and I'll have him probably close up a little bit from here. Keep him a little bit longer on the front side and quieter so that he can land in a good position.
Then I'm here. I have to go all the way across. Yeah. But I'm here. Okay? I'm close. Right here. From here. You stay close. You close here. I'm close. Already. I don't have to be like this now. I'm close. I'm right here. From here, you go forward.
Just reach out and land. Guys get lazy here.
Right.
To feel what this is doing. Everything
front
that you
side.
said about your core. To have this to pull.
Right.
Because they work together.
So here's what I would do.
Do you like this? Go ahead, step.
I think it would. So
yeah,
you're-
just pull.
Yeah.
To feel that, as opposed to being lame with this, the propensity to fly over.
Right.
No?
So in closing, no, I like any drill that's going to get you to a point where I call this box right here,
Yep.
trying to keep everything in the box. So the glove hand, let me see the glove real quick. As quiet as you can keep this front side
Okay.
and this head,
Yep.
I call keeping the box. Here's the way I used to pitch. I used to get it out of that box, and I used to think that that was the way to rotate and deliver power.
Okay.
Then I learned the best way is to keep it in the box. My head's going straight, my glove is quiet. Now I land in a position where I could feel. That's the Greg Maddux slash.
Right? You watch the angle of the arm. My arm comes out, full extension, towards you, towards the plate.
And actually bring it down.
We
to
talked
the
about
area I
this
want it.
yesterday, Petey. Go back to that. We're talking about the StatCast and where the release point is. You said you threw it out in front of your face.
Yes, I wanted to
So
kind
you
of.
try to get as far as to home plate as you can.
I wanted to have an imaginary tube where I wanted to have my hand where I kind of wanted to see it and then follow the ball all the way, coming back, going away, or bouncing down. I wanted to see it.
Consistent release point.
Let's examine the number 2 position and getting to the number 2 position. Once again, knee high, as we lead down, the side of the leg facing through, all right, using our block. This is the number 2 position, okay? Knee moves, separates the hand. As you're leading out, just at the point where you're just about to make contact, the elbows raise the hands to the shoulder height. Now, there are some pitches that'll hold the ball in the number 2 position slightly above the shoulder. Some hold it level with the shoulder. Some will actually have it down a little bit. Really doesn't make any difference as long as when he lands, he can get back into the number 3 position, the high cock position properly, right? 2 position, 3 position. Now, a lot of pitchers have trouble getting to the number 2 position, all right? Remember, it's the elbows that lift the hands. One way to think about it, Dick Mills teaches this, and I think it's a real good exercise. Just simple jumping jack. Start with your thumbs and your index fingers together. Jumping jack motion. Now, what happens with a jumping jack is that the elbows lift the hands up into the position. Now, in order to do it, you're starting here. Your elbows are slightly in front of the body, and the hands obviously in front of the body, to allow you to go up into the jumping jack position. So, this is the number 2 position, jumping jack. We'll just stop right here. That's the number 2 position. As you land, number 3 position. So if you're having problems with it, start with the jumping jack. 2, 3. Very simple. All right. A lot of pitchers, and I was one of them, as the hands break, I used to come straight down before I would lead out. All right? That has a lot of problems as far as getting into the high cock position. I know from old photos that I was able to get to that position, but many pitchers have trouble because they get the arm down. And by the time they get up into the high cock position where they land, you'll notice that my arm is in the number 2 position, when as I land, I should be in the number 3 position. A lot of times that's caused by too much arm action, either because it's straight down, or because the pitcher is bringing it straight back, or they're flailing. Some pitchers get the elbow behind the back. This is called flailing. As the hand comes out of the glove, they flail to the side. Puts a lot of stress on the shoulder. When you release the ball properly from the glove, all right, the hands separate. All right, the hands are in front of the body. Now, Roger Clemens has developed muscle memory. And what he does is, as the hands separate, he comes down, slightly back. His arm never straightens completely. The elbows come up, bringing the hand, and then into the high cock position. All right, it's called a tight circle. Now, his is very good, and Toronto is teaching it to all of its minor leaguers. His hand with the ball, I'll leave the glove here, as he drops, if you look at it from the side, it looks like his arm is straight, but it's not. It's still in a flex position, hand on top of the ball, and it's slightly out in front of his body as his elbows raise to go up into the number 3 position. So that's a great way to teach kids. If they have a straight arm and they're in the number 2 position, as they land, they're in the number 3 position, fine, leave them alone. But if you find that the arm is straight and as they land, they're not in the high cock position, then you've got to shorten up that circle. And you have to come down, slightly back, up, and then into the number 3 position. You don't want to come straight back towards second base. A lot of coaches teach that. It's ludicrous. Right? When the arm comes back, it's just back enough to flex so that the elbows can bring the hand up and then into the high cock position. All right, beginning in the number 3 position, right, where we've squished the bug, nose back behind the belt buckle, good body form along our imaginary line towards the plate, right? As we start to release the hip, all right, as we start to throw, again, the elbow is going to come out. This hip is going to drive forward. If you learn nothing more on this tape, absolutely nothing in pitching happens until you're in this position, right? Nothing. Now, think about it. Relief pitchers come in, nobody on base. What do? They pitch from the stretch position, all right? If there was any truth to a windup providing velocity, then the relief pitchers would come in and throw from the windup. What happens is, if you're in the proper position, with your head back over your belt buckle, and you're in the number 3 position, at this point, all right, as the hips start to drive, this hip is going to close. This heavy trunk action, all right, it's a very violent explosion of the trunk closing, only occurs if you can pull the posting foot from the rubber. We were all taught to push off the rubber. That was one of my problems. By pushing off the rubber, you end up keeping all of your weight on your heel. And as you start to drive out, your weight is so far over the heel that as the hips start to open, you just drag that hip through. You can't get that hip to explode to provide power to the pitch.
Then you explode when you hit.
And most pitches, I know I was like that, as I would throw the ball, after it would be released, my foot would still be back here, and then I would follow through. What you want to do is out of the number 3 position, right? And that's why it's important that as you come down and lead out, you squish the bug before you land. By squishing the bug and keeping the weight back over the ball of the foot, now I've released this hip. This hip can explode closed, and I'm going to drive in with this back knee. I'm going to go forward and in towards my body. All right? And that allows the back foot to come around. Now you notice when I follow through, the sole of my foot points up towards the sky, and my toe points you, or the third base side. That allows me to fall over the leg. One other thing you'll notice, is that as I deliver the ball, after the ball is thrown, right, you watch the angle of the arm. My arm comes out, full extension, towards you, towards the plate.
At the time I release the ball, because that will force me to hold the ball for longer and actually bring it down.
We
to
talked
the
about
area
this
I want it.
yesterday, Petey. But go back to that. We're talking about the StatCast and where the release point is. You said you threw it out in front of your face.
Yes, I wanted to
So
kind
you
of.
try to get as far as to home plate as you can.
I wanted to have an imaginary tube where I wanted to have my hand where I kind of wanted to see it and then follow the ball all the way, coming back, going away, or bouncing down. I wanted to see it.
Consistent release point.
Then it starts to decelerate, and it should be brought all the way to the side of the body. In order to do that, I have to show a flat back. All right, what do we mean by a flat back? You'll hear coaches in Little League all the time, the ball's staying up, coach will be yelling, show him a flat back, show him a flat back. What they mean is that after the pitch is delivered, as the hand goes down, right, you'll see the back of my shoulder. You'll actually see the back. If I had a hip pocket, you can see that. All the way down. What that allows you to do is fully decelerate the arm. Takes all the stress off of the shoulder. This hand comes all the way back. The other thing I think it does is that it aids in getting this leg up behind. If you watch my back and then watch my leg, they move in unison. And I can really get that back foot up behind. That allows me to cross over. If you're in the number 3 position, this knee, as you start to explode the hips, you'll notice this hip, the knee rather, is frozen here. It doesn't drift in towards the hitter. As it's here, as you start to finish, your leg will straighten as you fall over it. But once you're out in this position here, that knee is set. Don't let it drift in towards the plate. A great drill for learning how to use a flat back or follow through in general is to get down in this position here. It's like the number 3 position. What we're going to do is, I've got my back foot, if you can see it, I'm squishing the bug. My left toe, lead toe, is pointed towards the right-hand batter's box. My shoulders are still closed. My left hip, lead hip, is open slightly, just like if we were landing. Now I'm just going to follow through. My knee is locked. It's going to stay in this position. I'm going to come up and over to follow through. Try it again. All right, that's a great drill for practicing the flat back, getting all the way down, showing the back. Roger Clemens has developed muscle memory. And what he does is, as the hands separate, he comes down, slightly back. His arm never straightens completely. The elbows come up, bringing the hand, and then into the high cock position. All right, it's called a tight circle. Now his is very good, and Toronto is teaching it to all of its minor leaguers. His hand with the ball, I'll leave the glove here, as he drops, if you look at it from the side, it looks like his arm is straight, but it's not. It's still in a flex position, hand on top of the ball, and it's slightly out in front of his body as his elbows raise to go up into the number 3 position. A lot of pitchers have trouble getting to the number 2 position, all right? Remember, it's the elbows that lift the hands. One way to think about it, Dick Mills teaches this, and I think it's a real good exercise, just simple jumping jack. Start with your thumbs and your index fingers together, jumping jack motion. Now what happens with a jumping jack is that the elbows lift the hands up into the position. Now in order to do it, you're starting here. Your elbows are slightly in front of the body, and the hands obviously in front of the body, to allow you to go up into the jumping jack position. So this is the number 2 position, jumping jack. We'll just stop right here. That's the number 2 position. As you land, number 3 position. So if you're having problems with it, start with the jumping jack. 2, 3. Very simple.
Don't let anyone say that it's just a game. For I've seen other teams and it's never the same.